Welcome to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. It's great to have you for another terrific show. We're going to jump into the goals of EQ Video Tip and then get to this week's episode. Welcome back. We're going to talk today about emotional hijacking, and it's actually caused by something in your brain called the amygdala. If you're at a time where you got really mad about something and then you snapped at a loved one or a friend or a colleague or your kids, and you realized you really weren't mad at that one person, but something else caused you to do it, and that lashing out really wasn't there, well, that's an amygdala hijacking. And Arlen Kunjik of verywellminded.com is going to talk to us about amygdala hijacking and how to prevent them. And the term actually comes from Dan Goleman, who is one of the forefathers of EQ. And he realized and recognized that it's in our brain, basically, that we're wired for that amygdala fight or flight response to come out when we see something that happens. And it takes about 6 to 8 seconds for that to actually process it. And before your prefrontal cortex or your rational side of your brain kicks in and overrides that craziness of yelling at a friend or a coworker. We've also seen research that says that people who are going through a lot of anxiety or stress or have PTSD, their amygdalas are on super hyper intense mode and they have a more likely chance to react that way. What Arlen's going to talk to us today about is how to prevent that and how to calm down the amygdala and prevent that emotional hijacking that we've all been through. So if you had a moment where you might have said something that you regretted later on that day or even 2 seconds later, you've had that emotional hijacking. Let's figure out how to prevent them. Tip number one. One of the best ways to prevent this hijacking is to become more emotionally intelligent. And you're probably saying, well, how do I become more emotionally intelligent? And one of the best ways is watching this EQ video tip or reading articles on emotional intelligence. Because when you become emotionally intelligent, you're more engaged and more focused and attentive to your own thoughts and feelings of what's going on around you. Now, it takes time and takes practice to go through that. Some of the things that you can do involve mindfulness. And that's when you're fully aware and present of what you're doing and you're not overreactive to the environment around you and you're not being overwhelmed. And some of the ways that you can help improve your emotional intelligence involves improving your ability to comprehend your own emotions, right? At the same time, to learn and recognize other emotions, and at the same time, strengthening your ability to control those emotions altogether. And this mindfulness will help you out in the long run. So take moments to be mindful of yourself, how you're feeling, and how others are feeling to help prevent those amygdala hijacks. Tip number two, stress management. Stress management is another key area to help prevent that amygdala hijack. And the amygdala loves stress. It's basically their fuel, or its fuel, to become more and more stimulated. And if you can identify the stress that's in your life and help prevent it, it will also help calm your amygdala. Well, how do you prevent some stress? Some easy things and immediate quick results would be breathing. A stressful situation comes up, take a few deep breaths, hold them in, understand what's going on before you react. That'll give your amygdala a chance to calm down a bit. In the longer term, some things to prevent stress on a daily basis to avoid that hijacking when maybe you're not ready for it include meditation, exercise, journaling. All those different things will help you out in terms of understanding and calming your stress system so that you don't have an amygdala hijack. Tip number three, coping. Now, while stress management and mindfulness are really great techniques, it's going to take time to build that into your daily routine so that you've overcome these hijacks. So in the meantime, how do you deal with an amygdala hijack and cope with it? The first thing you can do is you can name it. When you notice yourself being triggered, you can say to yourself, I'm feeling triggered right now to blurt out something. The second piece, remember the 6-second rule. It takes about 6 to 8 seconds for that rational brain, that prefrontal cortex, to chime in. Instead of responding, pause for a second. Take that deep breath and let that 6 to 8 seconds or even 10 seconds occur before you actually respond, and avoid that amygdala hijack. Draw on your mindfulness. Look around the room and notice the environment. Take time because it'll move you and your body and mind into another space. And take a time out. If you find yourself in a situation where you can't get control of yourself, take 5 or 10 minutes, remove yourself from the situation to calm yourself down and figure out what's happening. Remember, all these techniques take time, and we have to make sure we treat ourselves with self-compassion to understand that coping is another mechanism to help us out when we feel that amygdala hijack coming on. That concludes this week's EQ video tip. Here's a quick reminder of what we went through. Remember, emotional hijacking is a problem that we all deal with, and it happens to all of us, even the best and most mindful people or EQ intelligent people that are out there. Take your time to work on these techniques to help you prevent emotional hijacking. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ video tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.